Is SEO dead in 2025? Who knows? Yeah, we're going to find out today. And knowing that everything that you are doing today is a form of SEO, search engine optimization, this is going to be one of those exciting times that you're going to really understand how valuable SEO is in this room, because I've heard so many questions. Is SEO dead? Is SEO relevant? Is SEO important? Is SEO still working? All these questions. And I'm like, why are we even asking these questions? Why can't we just focus on what is important? Because the more you ask questions, the more you spend time losing time that you could have invested in building pages, that websites that you show up on or you use, like ChatGPT, like Google, like Reddit, like TikTok, like LinkedIn. These are platforms that you use. So when you use these platforms are the very platforms that you will need to be on so that you can show up on websites based on traditional and AI search engines. So when people say, is SEO dead in 2025? The answer is no. Is SEO going away in 2025? No. What is GEO, AEO, AIO, SXO? All these things don't matter. Just think about those things like cosmetics, like makeup. Those things are just fancy ways of saying the same thing, right? Think about it. If you're wearing makeup, if you're beautiful, you're already beautiful. When you wear makeup, it just adds to the beauty. But if your website is janky and you're trying to put it on SEO or AEO or whatever it is, it's not even going to find you. Not even because you're not even found on the internet. It's because you're not even being recognized on the internet. Not because you don't have great content. You do. But the problem is the algorithm does not know that. Why? Because anything that you show up on after SEO, if you think about it as a page on your website, if you have anything that's showing up on ChatGPT and your website is there, it's because you have a link on your website that talks about who you are or what you do or who you serve or why you talk about the information that you provide in form of a blog, in form of a page, in form of a link, in form of a citation. You could have been featured on a magazine, featured at an event. Maybe you did a newsletter. Something happened on LinkedIn. That's going to trigger that information. So if you're not looking at your website today and focusing on SEO, it's going to be a problem. We're in the last quarter of 2025, and I've been talking about this all year. And now the question is, what are you about it? Because SEO is not a one-time fix. You don't shower once a year. That's the same way you don't do SEO once a year. So I'm being very literal, I'm just giving you the real raw example today, because if you don't understand where we are today in 2025, going to 2026, God willing, and as we are moving into new artificial intelligence, new ways of finding information, people don't really care about your domain authority. People don't really care about what's your keyword difficulty score. Those are great questions, but the real question is, who are you talking to? Who are you serving? Why are you showing up? And if you can answer that in three different ways, because when you look at AI now, there are three sentiments. There's a positive sentiment, there's a neutral sentiment, and there's a negative sentiment. So when people are asking ChatGPT questions, Alexa questions, Siri questions, it's going to be in these three forms. So we're going to talk about this today, and I'm super excited for this conversation. So if you have any question, put it in the chat, raise your hand, let's talk about it. Landstronaut, good morning. Happy September. Thank you for being here. How are you? Been a minute.
Hi everyone downstairs. What's up? I'm here supporting Favour Obasi-Ike.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you. Yes, everybody, if you are here listening and you have any questions about SEO, now is the time. If you have any questions about SEO, now is the time. Don't wait. Because if you have a website and you haven't done any type of SEO, and SEO does not mean keywords. I want to be very real with y'all today. Like, I'm not sugarcoating anything. I don't sugarcoat it at all. I never do. I just want to make sure that today you're probably going to get like the organic raw information today. I'm not going to put any syrup, no mayonnaise, no mustard, no ketchup, nothing. This is it. You can sauce it, marinate it, do what you want with it after listening to this, but this is what you need that's going to make or break your content. If you don't do these things that I'm talking about, something is going to pass by and you wouldn't even notice it because you didn't see it, because you were not aware. There's something called being not aware of a product. There's being something called product awareness, service awareness. You can move from not aware to problem aware to solution aware to brand aware. That's why it's called brand awareness. Brand awareness is not the only awareness. There is other types of awareness. So let's not box these things in. I'm giving you guys a very information that you need so that when you think about these things again, you ask yourself, is SEO really dead? No. Search is not dead because there are 8.2 billion people in the world and there are 1.1 billion websites. Think about that. And there are over between 8 through 16 billion searches a day on Google. That's already over the total population of the world that's searching in a day. And 15% of those searches are new every day. We have a few days left to the end of 2025. Imagine the number of 15% increases that have been happening from January 1st through September 5th. Now September 6th, 2025. So all the data that has been stored, logged, crawled, indexed, surfaced the internet is information that is still going to last a good amount of time, because a blog I talked about yesterday I was talking about blogging, and I was telling you how to do blogging as a website. If you're a new website, if you're an established website, so listen to the last episode. Because if you don't do those things that I mentioned, it'll be hard for you to scale knowing what you know in this room. And we're going to talk about that today. And Manu, thank you for your question about SEO for lead generation. It's very important. There's lead generation and there's also lead conversion. So most people stop at lead generation. There's also demand generation. So when we think about our marketing terms and what we know as marketing, let's not just box marketing into one keyword or one phrase, because there's so much. I learned myself. I research so much. That's why the more I know, the more I don't know. And that's what keeps me researching. So it's not something that I'm like, okay, I know everything. I don't. If I know everything, then who am I? I'm just human, God knows everything. I'm just trying to make sure that you're not stuck behind when I know things that I could tell you like this. That's why I'm very passionate about talking about these things. I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, wait, it's early. Let me talk about this thing now so I don't have to talk about it later. And if you listen to it now, then that could actually change the trajectory of your day or weekend or next week. Because we're in a new month and people are asking these questions. And I'm like, okay, Favour, how are you going to answer this question in a very decent way that's not sounding like I know everything? I don't. But one thing I know for sure is that people are searching every day. And SEO is search engine optimization. People are using engines to optimize the content, to create content. So when you think about optimization, think about it like your car. If you don't do an oil change, if you don't do a tire alignment, if you don't brush your teeth, if you don't shower, if you don't do these things, you're not going to function in a way that's going to be healthy or high performance or indicating that you have something strong that can keep you going consistently. That's really what it means. If your website, and in other words, your website would have to create new articles, new blogs, new updates. If you had articles that you posted, and let's say your website was last published in 2024, October, now is 2025, September. Now, if you haven't updated anything, there's a way your website will be able to tell the algorithm, because right now, if you don't have any content that's updated, let's say you've been writing blogs for years and you've never updated these blogs. A blog has a 24-month cycle. So if you wrote a blog in 2022 and it's 2025, it means that since 2022, you never updated your article for the last 3 years. So to the algorithm, you can still show up for some reason online if you don't have any competition, but the chances of you sustaining that are slim if you don't update your website. Because when you have something called a last modified, it's the way you last update something on your drive. You have a local drive, right? Your local drive is on your computer. It's a desktop. It's a Mac. It's a PC. You're logging in, or you're going to your files or your folders, and you look at last modified. If you last modified a document before listening to this episode, you probably have it logged at the time before you logged in. So now you've logged a time, a date, right? And date stands for day and time evaluation. When you now look at that and you actually scale that back to when you last updated your content, that is going to be the last modified update that's going to be tokenized. What does tokenization mean? Tokenization is just like a duplicate. Just like if you have an original copy, you want to scan a document and then you put it on a scanner, you get the duplicate copy. You already have the original copy, but you have 10 duplicate copies. Now, when you have 10 duplicate copies, that means you have 10 duplicate websites. That means your website is showing up on google.com, that's one duplicate. Showing up on yahoo.com, that's 2. You're showing up on duckduckgo.com, that's 3. Showing up on Brave, that's 4. Showing up on bing.com, that's 5. Showing up on ChatGPT, that's 6. When you start hearing what I'm saying, or rewind this and listen to this again, you realize that anytime you last modify a page, that page is going to be tokenized as a duplicate that's going to be shown on a website, because everyone wants to be on Google. Everyone wants to be on ChatGPT. But guess what? These are also websites like yours. They also had to go through the process of buying a domain, getting a hosting, building a website, ranking for keywords, showing up with pages, building tools, creating systems. There's no shortcut. We're all doing the same thing. The difference is that some people are now doing it in a structural way. Some people are doing it in an unstructured way. How does it look in structural? When you create a website, you don't do SEO, you don't do copy, you don't do off-page SEO. If I click on your blog or if I click on your website, there's a social media page there, and that social media link is leading me to the default, or it's a broken link. Those are things that are regressive, and that's not healthy. So you want to make sure that you have a last modified tab, because that last modified gives you an update, just like your phone. Your phone is not in the same version it was January 1st. You must have updated your phone at least once within the last 9 months. So if you're not updating your website, if you're not updating your content, if you're not updating your position online, then what are you really doing? So when people ask this question, is SEO dead in 2025? The answer is no. Who knows? Only God knows what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you have to decide how you want to show up online. You have to decide. So when you're creating content, if you have a podcast, connect your website, connect your Instagram, connect your LinkedIn, connect your YouTube, connect your blog, connect your podcast, connect things that people can find, because it's already hard enough for people to find things. But if you give people a red carpet and tell them, here's where you can find me, now there's a structure. Now there's a placement. Now there's a position. Now there's an authority. Now there's a conversation. And you started the conversation because you wrote that on text, on screen. So when you're really thinking about SEO, don't think about all these technical things, because that's when it's going to get complicated. And that's when things start getting stressful, which shouldn't be. The goal is, what is my message? Who am I talking to? Why am I even talking to them? And what are they listening to? And what are they retaining? I said this before, attention is the new currency. Retention is a new balance. I learned about attention is a new currency, and I said, okay, retention is a new balance is something that I came up with. And I said, okay, currency balance. Because when somebody is retentive, it means that they are attentive, and they're incentive, and they're also intentional. So if you want to show up for different things, it's because you have to create different systems. If you want to show up for one thing, you have to create one system. Or one system can actually operate a couple of things because you're building a system within the operating system. It's operating because there are things that are working together. So when you look at SEO in 2025, it changes everything. So Manu, thank you so much for this comment. It says, folks, Favour is an expert in SEO besides other. I've heard him in BWC. Thank you so much, Manu. I appreciate you so much for being here. You know, your question on SEO for lead generation is big. And I'm going to give you guys some free information today. And if you take this information today, I don't know, I just felt like I was not planning to do this or say this, but I feel like I should, because too much is given, much is required. So I'm going to say this. And before I say this, I want to say good morning to you all. Manu, RB, Akinori, Viola, or Viola, I hope you say it correctly. Please forgive me. 49, Bomb, Victoria, Pedro, Austin, Payson, A, Ingrid, Sandy, Mr. Willis, Talitha, thank you for being here. And Lazaro, thank you for showing up today as well. This one, go ahead.
I'd
You
like
want to say
to,
something?
yeah. So actually, you may not know this, but like you're the only one that I've ever really reached out to on Clubhouse and knew that you knew your stuff to wanna do something with you. And so for the people in the audience, he worked on a global satellite conference for me, which was very important at SEO wise because I was having my conference in another country. And it was very, very difficult. I ran into a lot of, I don't want to say roadblocks, but it was more so like, it's just a lot. Like, working a conference was my first conference. So everything that was going to go wrong probably went wrong, but went right because I got really far. And the legitimacy of my conference website had very distinguished people from all over Africa. I had 13 countries attend, like literally. And the sophistication of my website and the call outs, the ease of being able to find it, me being able to have the metadata behind these people's pages. You know, a lot of these people in these countries, they have very official positions, but they don't have time for an online presence. And me being able to integrate my conference and edify who they were and having it in the right placement in my website, it helped solidify a lot of capabilities in that regard with people wanting to work with me around the world. So it was a very, very powerful thing. And that's why I'm up here. So yeah, no, he's the real deal.
Thank you, Lanston. I appreciate you. And I'm glad you had an amazing conference. I feel like that project for me was very exciting because I loved how I was able to take the information and say, okay, this is a different country. How are people going to see it? And it made sense. And I actually did something similar to what we did last night. There was a conference in another country in Kenya that happened in August, and they partnered with a Pan Pacific hotel. And I was able to help pretty much create the buzz, I can say that way, because there was a lot of things involved. So it's not just me, it's a full team. And I just came on board and I said, hey, first of all, y'all have a website. It's not working. Why is it not working? Because it's not connected to Google Search Console. And he was like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm making, I was so excited about this conversation with him because he was coming to me like, I'm already doing what I need to do. I don't need your help because SEO doesn't work. This is context to today's conversation. And he was like, yeah, SEO, why do I need it? I'm spending money on ads on Instagram or Facebook. I'm getting leads. I'm sending emails. I have a website. Why do I need Google Search Console SEO? I was like, bro, everything you're doing is fine. I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. All I'm saying is that the things that you're doing are not tracking. In other words, you're not able to track back. You're not able to know what's going on. Yeah, you can track your inventory, 100%. That's your intellectual property. But in terms of data, in terms of intelligence, in terms of market share, in terms of share of voice, in terms of consistency, and understanding the times and the seasons, because every season has a different search volume, because every month has a different need. Where in September, before you know it, it's Halloween, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, it's Valentine's, it's something else, it's Easter, it's, before you know it, it's July 4th again. So you wonder, okay, it's Black Friday, that too. There's so many holidays that in your mind you're wondering, okay, businesses are planning these things ahead of time. You're seeing emails, you're getting all these things. And I was telling him the same thing. I was like, hey, you don't have a pop-up on your website, and you need a system that can collect these data. He was like, I don't need all that. They're already signing up on the bottom of my email list. In my head, I was like, that's almost 10% of the people who visit your website. Because if I was to scroll down your website, if I showed up on your website, boom, and I'm on your website, the next thing I need to see is a pop-up, something that says welcome. Just like when you go to a store and you hear welcome, good morning, or when you go to the office, you hear, hey, good morning. Like I'm telling you, good morning. You're wondering, is that necessary? Yes. Why? Because you're preconditioning the room. You're setting the tone. You're setting the intention. If I wake up and I see you and I don't say good morning, that says something. That's telling me something is going on. And I don't want to see that. But if you're waking up in the morning and you're like, hey, good morning, those two sound effects make you feel a different type of way. Because one of them is telling you caution, another one is telling you proceed. So when you create a website and you don't have a pop-up and you're not telling people what to do or how to proceed, then you're not telling them, hey, you can go to this aisle or that aisle, we have this, we have that. Create preferences. So for this client, we said, okay, we're going to put a pop-up and we're going to say, okay, because they're looking for sponsorships, they're looking for partnerships, they're looking for ticket sales, they're looking for different things. His website was making it, but it was barely, it was also it was a Wix website too. And I was like, okay. So there's really nothing wrong. We've built WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, Duda, Tilda, Webflow, all these platforms. We've built them all. Shopify, they're all great. But when the SEO is not there, or when the SEO is not available, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. And why is it going to be a problem? Because you'll be spending money on overhead costs, which include your domain, which include your hosting, which is different from your domain, which includes your email, your mailbox, because you're paying for that professional work email, you're paying for that domain, you're paying for that hosting. Those are your overhead costs. Those are your office expenses. Let's talk business right now, right? So you're already spending on these tools, on these assets, on these things that are going to make or break your business operation. If someone sends you an email and it has a soft bounce, that means your email is not authenticated, it's not active. You probably haven't connected the servers. The name servers are disconnected. So when I look at that, it tells me, okay, how's your business operation looking like? So it's the little things that go a long way. So if you're not having all these things in place, it's not going to be a smooth ride. So I told him, hey, we need to set these things up. And he was like, okay, yeah, okay, let's see what you're doing. I connected the Google Search Console to his website. Right now, it's making over 50,000 impressions. That's 50,000 people he did not know that were actually looking at his website. Not that they were not looking at it before, but he couldn't track that. And the good thing about Google Search Console, it will tell you the truth. It will tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. The truth is, you will look at your console performance and it will tell you you have X number of impressions, X number of clicks, X number of click-throughs, or clicks or click-through rates, or X number of positions. When you see those things, it will tell you whether your efforts, your marketing efforts are actually benefiting you. Think about it like a car. Your search console is the internet search provider of Google. Google Search Console is the internet service provider of Google. I'll say that again. Google Search Console is the internet service provider of Google. How do I know that? You can type in Google Search Console on Google and it will tell you within the precursor, within the suggested auto suggestion box, it will tell you Google's internet service provider. So if you're not on Google's internet service provider, what are you doing not on Google, expecting to be on Google when you're not on the search console? It doesn't make sense. So when you connect your website to Google Search Console, that's the first rule of the day. That's the first thing we do. Because when your website is not connected to Google Search Console, there's nothing you're tracking. We can't even work with you as a business if you don't have that connected. Why? Because there's no report I can give you at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year that will tell you this is what we did and this is how we did. If I don't show you that data, you can't believe me. You won't believe me. Because if I start talking, oh yeah, we had this. Okay, show me. Okay, I don't know, but I'm sure. Nobody has time for sure. Are you sure? People want results. People want facts. People want figures. People want to see numbers. People want to see graphs. People want to see numbers that will actually create the pathway to the success of the client or of the business. So we put a pop-up on the website, and right now he added over at least 600 contacts that he didn't have in a span of 3 months. At least 600. And guess what? He's not sent one email to none of them. So, and I told him, hey, we're going to set it up, but for us to continue, we have to go through some procedures. He's like, I'm not sure yet. I said, you know what? I've done the most I can for you, but this is what I've shown you. And if you don't use this intellectual property to really understand how to build from lead generation, because you had about 1,000 contacts, now you have over 3,000. Okay, what are you going to do with this 3,000 plus? Because you've made 600 in about 3 months, and you've made an extra within a number of other months within the timeline that you've had the full year, because it's 9 months now, we're in September. So I'm like, okay, if you've had 6 months, you've had 3 months with me, within 6 months you've gained, over 2 years you've been able to build something, over 5 years you've been able to build something structural, and now all the time it took you within 5 years to make 1,000 leads, we were able to get 600 in 3 months. That should say something. And he was like, okay, I believe you. And I'm like, I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just showing you the data. Because when you ask, is SEO dead in 2025? You're asking, is SEO important? Is SEO essential? Yes, it is. Why? Because when people are searching for information about what you provide, how are you going to show up on the internet? How are you going to show up on the web servers? How are you going to show up without having your website showing up for you? When you're applying for grants, when you're applying for loans, when you have a business, your website is important. They're going to look for your website. They're going to ask you for your social media, yes, which should have a website connected. If you have a LinkedIn profile, it should have a website connected. Yesterday, I had a LinkedIn masterclass or workshop, and this is something I'm actually planning to do. So if you're interested, please reach out to me and ask me about this. And I'm saying this now because this is kind of unofficial, but it's in context to what I'm describing, because I did a case study last month and I've realized that there's a big need for people to really get into these things. So last month I did a 4-time workshop or 4-platform workshop. I did SEO and AI, I did LinkedIn, I did Pinterest and podcasts. Now I realized that most people actually want private workshops or private active consultations where we're not just sitting on a Zoom call or a Roam call or Google Meets or a Teams call and we're just talking. No, at the end of those 90 minutes, something has changed. Like we're leaving better than we came. Kind of like you go to a mechanic, and you get something fixed and now you're actually operating better. This is what happened yesterday. And I said I'm going to start doing private workshops or private one-on-ones, but it's going to be like 90 minutes. And anytime you want to log in, check in, you'll do that. So I'm planning that this weekend. That's how I'm telling you now unofficially, but you're going to start hearing more of this soon. So yesterday we did it as a test and it was a paid workshop, a paid class. And he came in and I asked him, hey, what do you want to do on LinkedIn for the next 3 to 5 years? What is your goal? What is your actual goal? Because for me, I told him I wanted to hit 10,000 connections on LinkedIn by, I think that was 2023 or so. And I did. I think I hit about 10, 11. And then now I have about 15,000 connections on my LinkedIn. Before the end of this year, I know it will be borderline between 17 and 20. So I was telling him, I need to find out from you, what is your goal on LinkedIn? What do you really want? Because out of the 4 options, he picked LinkedIn. And I said, okay, so we'll set up a call, we put on the schedule, we get on, we record it, and you have the notes, you have the information, and you're able to now see it and use this information. If you want to come back again later in the next month or 2, the schedule is always open if you want to book. But for this class, for this time we're in, let's maximize what we have right now. So the first thing I did was search his name on LinkedIn. This is what I found. And I didn't do it until we got on the call, because sometimes I don't want to be surprised. I love surprises, good surprises, but I wanted to show him how I would see it if it was my first time seeing it, if I was looking at it myself, because I wanted him to have that experience with me. And it was like fresh, kind of like unwrapping a gift, right? Like opening your envelope or opening something, a present. So I wanted to do it that way, like a really nice experience. So I shared my screen. I was like, okay, watch this. I typed his name. Guess what happened? He told me after what he wants to do within 3 to 5 years. I said, okay, I wrote it down. It's recorded. I got it down. I was like, okay, this is our goal. For you to get this in 3 to 5 years, we need to do this first. I searched his name. Guess what I found? I found that he had 3 profile accounts, 3 LinkedIn profiles. I asked him, hey, when was the last time you logged into LinkedIn? He told me. I said, did you know you have 3 LinkedIn accounts? He's like, yeah. When he said yeah, I said, okay. And I looked at the 3 profiles and I said, out of these 3, which one did you create first? I won't tell you everything that happened on that call, but I'm just trying to give you like a glimpse of how our private workshops or how the private classes go. And when he explained everything, I said, you know what? I went to Google. I said, okay, let's leave LinkedIn alone for a second. Let's go to Google. I typed in his name on Google and I said, this is the LinkedIn profile showing up on Google. And I clicked it. It was a profile that he first created. So the other 2 were duplicates. So what does that tell you when I talked about tokenization? When Google discovers you for the first time, I'm really using this as a case study so that you can see where I'm trying to like bring this back to the room. When Google knows you for the first time, when you put your profile on a Facebook account, X account, Threads account, TikTok account, whatever account, now for him it was LinkedIn, the first time you put it on there is the first time Google recognizes you, because Google knows LinkedIn and LinkedIn knows Google. So if LinkedIn now knows you and LinkedIn tells Google about you, then LinkedIn is going to tell Google the first thing LinkedIn knows about you. So LinkedIn is not going to duplicate or give you a second profile. The second thing that showed up on Google was his name and then in quotes, X number of profiles. So when someone clicks on that, now you're going to see other profiles of the same person. So I was like, this is not clean. You already have 2 listings for 3 different accounts on a platform that you should have 1 of each. Kind of like your credit report. You shouldn't have like multiple addresses, right? That says that's a red flag. So I'm like, hey, this is the same thing, just a different metric. So it made sense to him. And I was like, yeah, we got to take these 2 other addresses out because you're logging in with a different Google address. In fact, one of them was a Yahoo address. That's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is actually getting intense. We had to take out Google accounts, Yahoo accounts, choose a primary account, take out the other ones, close them, actually close the accounts. So by the end of our workshop, by the end of the consultation, it was 90 minutes. I like that it's 90 minutes because 60 minutes is very short. So I made sure it's an hour and a half so we can cover a lot. And I split it into 3, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, so we can have a really full on schedule agenda. So I said, okay, hey, this is now your account. You've dropped 2. Now you have 1. Another thing was that he didn't verify his account. That was another problem. So when you think about SEO, is SEO dead in 2025? It's no, because SEO and AI are looking for brands, for citations, for people, for links, for websites like yours. So if you have a duplicate profile on LinkedIn and a duplicate account on TikTok, you're messing yourself up. And sometimes when you think about your business, you have to think about how you're claiming your business. He didn't even claim his business on LinkedIn. He claimed his business at a separate account. And I was like, this is messy. He had a whole company profile in one place. It wasn't claimed. He had 3 different accounts on LinkedIn. In my head, I was like, I can't even work with you because I wouldn't trust this person. Now I don't even know who to click. And it's the same person, same name, 3 accounts. That's sus. So I said, nah, we have to drop 2, pick one. And he picked one. When we finished that call, he has a clean profile. We had to clear his account. And I said, hey, do you use Clear? Because I travel a lot. And when you use Clear, LinkedIn is Microsoft. LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. So when you're verifying your account on LinkedIn, you have to verify your account on LinkedIn with either your government issued ID or with Clear. That's why when LinkedIn connected with Clear, LinkedIn partnered with Clear, but now also Clear partnered with Delta. So if you really think about the businesses, I look at it from a more of like a business to business standpoint as opposed to just a consumer standpoint. So I'm like, okay, business to business, this happened, that happened. Okay, great. So we had to verify him with Clear. So he had a Clear account and I said, hey, just open your Clear account, authenticate your email, verify it, and you're verified. Because if you have Clear, you're already government issued verified because you have a Clear account or like a TSA. So I said, okay, perfect. Let's do that. He was able to now get his badge. He was able to authenticate his account. Within 5 minutes of doing that, guess what happened? Within 5 minutes of doing that, we got off LinkedIn and I said, okay, let's go back and check something. I checked his notifications and I was like, look at the top. We saw that 5 people have viewed his profile. Why have 5 people viewed his profile? Because we optimized his LinkedIn for SEO. Because he does a very specific business. And I said, okay, for you to be in this business and you want to get this number of clients, we need to do a math study. And what was the math study? I told him, okay, I'm just going to give you guys a random number so that I'm not going to give you the full detail. But he's like, okay, I want to have at least 100 clients. And I'm just giving a hypothetical example. It's not the real thing, just for privacy purposes. So he was like, I want to have like about over 100 clients. I'm like, okay, 100 clients in how long? 100 clients in about a year. I said, okay, if you want to do that, then we need to multiply that twice. And what does that mean? There's something called a total available market. Then there's something called a service available market. And then there's something called a service obtainable market. This is something I've learned both in research and I've also learned this in school. Because when I did my graduate program in entertainment business, I also studied entertainment law and I also studied things in between that. I won't go too deep into that. And also I did another master's or graduate program in business administration. So with 2 graduate programs, I've understood what it means when I hear there's a need that needs to be provided, but there needs to be data that needs to be qualified. So I said, okay, if you want to show up on a platform, and the reason why these 5 people are looking for you now is because you're looking for them in those places. So you want 100 people? Great. So I said, okay, let's multiply times 2. So I said, okay, we're going to do it in a way that's going to be very incremental. So we did 100 times 10. That's 1,000. And then I did 1,000 times 10. That's 10,000. So I said, okay, for you to have 100 clients a year, it means you need to have at least, and I'm very serious, if you want to have at least 100 clients a year, you want to have at least 10,000 email contacts in your email list. I'm just giving you facts. And please do your research. I always like to give information that allows you to go and do research too, because it's working for me, it's working for others. It's not going to work for everybody, and everyone works differently. So it's not a one size fits all. But when you do the math and you actually do the numbers, you ask yourself, if I want to have 5 clients a year, that means, right, if I just even break it down, that's 5 times 10, that's 50. And then 50 times 10, that's 500. So if I want to have 5 clients a year, then I need to have at least 500 contacts in my email list that I'm talking to. consistently. There are 52 weeks in a year. Imagine if you go ahead, Lance
Um,
Renaud. Let's talk about it.
yeah, I also feel like the brand research. I feel like you want somebody that cares enough to really understand the framework of the company and what it is that they're trying to portray, and to be able to even deliver and do that type of forensics. And then it goes into like intellectual property. So like handpicking, I feel like somebody to do your SEOs is very very important. I would say for you, like how my stuff was set up, like I had no problem giving you access to being able to put the right things embedded inside of the website. Like that's something, it's like handing somebody a key. You don't hand that to just anybody. You got to know that they have their principles of, you know, their corporation or their boutique, you know, services on point. Because like for me, I spent what 4.5 years growing Landstronaut's brand, like literally, and everything that goes in between it: frameworks, policy, business model, customer service, equity, all this stuff, who I talk to, how I talk to them, and all of that stuff like is a forefront of the website and how official it comes out. When I do all of that work and connect with all these people, I'm not about to go to some ChatGPT SEO type of whatever, or a flat landing page type of situation. Be like, oh, let me just have something out there if I know like my demographics calls for something different. And I feel like a lot of other companies, they're not gonna go to that extent to like pinpoint, okay, this is where this person is at, this is where this company is at, and this is how I could navigate in between to get what they need done on time and on budget. That's like human factors. Everybody wants to do this ChatGPT stuff, but even the output on this ChatGPT, it mirrors you. So if you don't know like what you're doing and you're asking information, it's just gonna give you general stuff. It's not gonna have like a real brain behind what it is that you need done with all the expertise and the experience, you know, and the knowledge. So to sit there and be like, okay, no, but this is what I truly need. At what point in the automation do I actually want to have a human involved? Like, I don't want to deal with bots my whole company lifetime. Like, it's got to have an element of realism. So, I mean, I think that's another thing too with the boutique services and people not being stretched all the way in, you know.
Yeah, you said a lot of good things in there, Lance Renaud, especially when it comes to ChatGPT or SEO your website. Because I've heard things like, oh, I'm just going to use ChatGPT to SEO my website. I'm like, what does that mean? I really don't know what that means, because you're using a system for your system without understanding the system. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I've seen it time and time again, and I'm just like, okay, let's break this down. Because I mean, if you hear it once, it won't really make sense, but the more you keep hearing it, the more you keep rewinding, the more you'll be like, okay, now I understand. Because you're going to have experiences. Because think about it, ChatGPT is 1 out of 8 LLMs, large language models, that are being used for AI, artificial intelligence, engine search operations. So if you are thinking about a search operating system like Google, like Alexa, like ChatGPT, these are traditional voice and answer AI search engines that are responding based on information that is being given from a source. So if you're not going to the source, then how do you become the resource? Make it make sense. So when you think about the full cycle of your business and you're asking this question, is SEO dead in 2025 or 2026 or whatever year this question may come up again, the answer is no. And no is a complete answer, because when you look at your website and it's not updated, it's not last modified, it's not tokenized, it's not indexed, it's not being searched, it's not being connected, it's not being seen, how are you going to be heard or remembered if you're not being seen in the first place? That's why it says, or we know that you don't have a second chance to make a first time impression. You don't. So when you have a website that shows what you do, who you serve, why you serve, when I talk about when, think about restaurants. When are we open? When you think about hotels, when can we check in? When you think about hotels, what time of the day should we do it? When do we want to go? How long ago do we need to plan, or how far back do we need to scale, or how far ahead do we need to plan for? So when you look at all these things, it's a matter of time. SEO, people say, oh yeah, SEO takes a while, so I'm going to run ads. In my mind, I'm like, don't do that, because what you're technically doing is spending money on an audience that doesn't know you, and now you're spending more money to convince them. So when you actually show up, they're going to research online, and then when they don't find you, it's a waste. That's it.
Or the conversion. You don't have nothing to tell them. You don't have like nothing to promote. You don't have nothing to sell. You don't like it's the whole thing. You be like, well, at least know my name, and then it's like, well, why should I know your name? It's the whole thing.
Right? Exactly. It's something that should really be ringing a big bell. And I've always said this too: the fastest way someone can know you, like you, trust you in 2025, this is not rocket science. This is what is happening. And it's literally what I'm doing right now, which is talking. And talking is the unstructured part. Podcast is the structured part. Paper and pen is the unstructured part. A book is the structured part. A web page that has a blog, text-wise, is unstructured. A blog that has headings, links, internal and external, embedded scripts, iframes, tables, infographics, FAQs, quotes, images, alt text, schema, which is microdata, which is also known as rich snippets. These are the things that will turn your unstructured blog into a structured article. Let me even say it that way, because when you're looking at Google, think about it. Google also has blogs. They don't call it blogs. They call it documentation. You can call it article. You can call it blog. You can call it resource. It's the same thing. So when you are the resource from a source, it means that you are adding water to the well. And how are you adding water to the well? By putting your well-informed, well-researched content on the web server in form of a web link that can show up on a web server, showing up for information that's regarding your search intentional access, in terms of how they're finding you, why they're finding you, and what type of sentiment are they using. Because there's 3 S's. There's sentimental, right? There's semantics, and there's SEO. A lot of people forget about the semantics and and just wonder, okay, if people are just going to find me for this, how are they going to search for it? Is it sentimental enough for them to find it? Is it positive sentimental based? Is it neutral sentimental based? Is it negative sentimental based? Right? And when we think about the semantics, we have to think about how people are searching on a consistent basis. People are going to be evolving their searches. Gone are the days when we're ranking for keywords. We're ranking for conversations now. We're not ranking for keywords. We're ranking for conversations. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Siri. Hey, ChatGPT. Hey, this. Hey, that. Hey, Google. What is the time? You know, the most searched question in the world is, what time is it? That's the most searched question in the world. What time is it? Those are 4 syllables starting with a prompt, starting with a W. What? And there are 5 W's and there's 1 H. So if you really look at success in the blueprint, then your question should be answered by the response from the blueprint. If you're building a house and it's supposed to be 5 cubits or 5 meters or 5 inches, whatever it is, however the metric is going to be, 5 feet, 12 feet, whatever you're building, there's going to be a metric. If that dimension is not the right dimension, it's a problem. Just like with photos and photo dimensions. If you have the wrong photo dimension, it's a problem. Like podcasting, I'm going to give you some free game. With podcasting, make sure your artworks are 3000 by 3000 pixels. I'll keep moving. When you create content and you're maximizing your capacity online, you're building an attention map that is going to create a retention curve. So when you have an attention map, that attention map is where people find you, right? I've talked about your website is in 3 forms: a website, a web page, a web link. A website is where people know your website. Hey, go to this website, but not everybody knows what's on your website. It's kind of like, hey, go to this house, but you don't know what's going on in this house, right? A web page, that's how people find you based on pages. That's why you have page authority, and that's why there's something called domain authority. Those are 2 different types of authoritative sentences or statements, because a page authority is based on topical research and a domain authority is based on a site-wide research. It's site-wide. It's not web-wide. There's a World Wide Web, but when you think about the site-wide websites that you're showing up on, which is google.com, wikipedia.com, or .org, or you go to reddit.com. These are huge websites. Right now, Reddit is contributing to 40% of information to AI search engines. Pinterest is about 4%. LinkedIn, I think, is about 5%. Google is 23%. So when you start thinking about this information, that 23% is huge. That 40% is huge. And you know, Google and Reddit partnered not too long ago. So when you really think about these things and you ask yourself, okay, tech, okay, business, okay, marketing, okay, advertising, you ask yourself as a business owner, what am I really doing? Am I really spending time running ads to the people that actually would find me online or not even see what I'm doing online? Or do I want them to find a podcast that they can actually connect with? Because right now, the fastest way for someone to know, like, and trust you is a podcast. Because with the podcast, you have your name, just like when you have a blog, right? A blog has an author. A podcast has an author. A book has an author. A song has an author, right? When you look at these different quadrants, they all play a huge role into how you show up as a dominant authority online. So if your podcast is showing up on 30 to 40 podcast stations and someone is searching about something and ChatGPT cites a Spotify link or cites a Pandora link or cites Apple link or cites something that they want to connect, they're citing from a source that has a resource. And if you're part of the resource database, then you're going to become the resource mention. So they'll say, according to this person's podcast, This is what happened according to this blog, because if you turn your podcast to a blog that is topic based, that's a great win because you've auto indexed your content, or you manually indexed your content that is now being indexed through the servers. So when Google is now giving AI mode a result, or ChatGPT is saying, here's a mention that you can go to, then that mention is going to be the representation of the answer. So that answer that you get, that's a win. Some people have come to me and say, hey, some people found them, our clients, some clients have been telling us too that some people find them on ChatGPT and that's how they get business. That's how they get connected. And it's not because it's rocket science. It's because we intentionally wanted them to find them. We've had clients that we've talked to, we have quarterly rollovers or annual or biannual, depending on the ones that you choose. And in 3 months, a client told us not too long ago, she has a podcast. Check out Inside the Dollhouse HQ. Really dope. She does post operating services. And I'm just shout out to you, Faith Stample. Really great woman. And she's based in Miami, Florida, doing a lot of great things for businesses, for people, coaching them on, operative care and everything. And I was like, this is exciting to hear stories like you doing business, but now because you have a podcast, because you have a YouTube channel, because you have things that are growing online. Yes, you have a website and you've had a website, but now because of the authority you're presenting yourself on a weekly basis, people can find you, like you, trust you. And now she comes to me and tells me, hey, people find me on Google and people reach out to me, or we've never had clients that come from Google and now we get them organically. We've not run a single ad yet. We're about to, but we've not run a single ad yet. We're about to push Pinterest into the mix too, right? It's kind of like putting spice into your food or putting something savory into your food to enjoy it. It's already tasting good. You want to just add to the taste. And that's what we're doing. And it's because of podcasting. And I really say this, now she's in the top 100,000 out of 4.5 million shows, because out of 4.6 million now, according to podcastindex.org, there are 4.6 million podcasts in the world. And according to podmatch.com, only 16% of them are active. So what does that say about you, about your podcast, about your author profile? If you have a blog author profile and you have a podcast author profile, and you're showing up on all these podcast directories that are showing up on Google and all these other search engines like Bing or ChatGPT or Perplexity, these are places that people will find you, and they'll be able to find your content because you also have what we call show notes. Because in those show notes, you have context. And what's that context? Hypertext. And what's that hypertext? Links. And what are those hyperlinks? Your website, your web page, your web link. So when your web links are showing up on Apple, on Spotify, on iHeart, on Pandora, because your podcast is already showing up on these platforms, on Podcast Addict, on all these amazing platforms that people are listening to every day, on Alexa, and you realize, oh, I'm on a smart speaker. It's not, you just didn't show up there. It wasn't a genie that put you there. You put yourself there because you showed up for the right reason. You showed up for the right search term. And it's not magic. It's a forecast. It's market research. It's market intelligence. So if you never showed up for anything by this time last year and now you're showing up for something, that's a reason to celebrate. Because by this time next year, you show up for more things that you never showed up before. And now you have authority because every blog has a 24-month lifespan. So the more you're able to create, recreate, repurpose, update, modify, and reconnect with people online, the faster you're going to be able to see the finish line. And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, because SEO is continuous. This is the most continuous thing I know, because some people have also talked about SEO being one of the businesses or industries that are going to be replaced by AI. And in my mind, I'm wondering how is that going to happen? Because the very AI tools or the very AI servers are looking for information from the traditional platforms or the traditional servers that already pre-exist, that you already show up on. So there's no way you can show up on ChatGPT if you don't show up on Google first. Simple. You can't show up on Perplexity if you're not showing up on Google first, if you're not showing up on Bing, if you're not showing up on Yandex, if you're not showing up in Ecosia, if you're not showing up on these platforms that are not so common, but are common to the web. They're common to the algorithms, right? If you have distributed your product across 40 stores, but somebody has distributed their products across 40,000 stores, who's going to have more distribution? Who's going to have more reach? Who's going to have more attention and retention curve? These are the major things that we have to think about as a business. So as we journey and go through this SEO question, because it's going to be asked again, because people will still ask the same question. The end of the day, your goal is to make sure that you're creating content that's going to give you the right intention and the right retention. Because when you have the right retention, you're able to allow more people to find your content, to see more of what you're creating, and actually to enjoy it. Because right now, if you didn't know this, please know this. Google has a guideline. What's Google's guideline? It's simple. It's an EEAT. It used to be called EAT. It's switched to EEAT, which is experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Now, experience is the first thing. If you've ever had a bad experience, I don't think you're going to go back to the same place you went to the first time when you had that bad experience, because you don't want to have that again. You know how they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And if you listen to J. Cole too, you can listen to the song. But at the same time, when you look at that statement, you ask yourself, okay, how am I going to show up so that somebody doesn't feel like that? Because you want to give the best experience. So if you want to give the best experience, then the experience comes from creating the stage, setting the stage. When you watch a Super Bowl event, a World Cup event, a major event, those events have stages that are set. And those set stages have intentions because there's a pathway, there's choreography, there's art direction, there's creative direction, right? There's time, there's camera, lights, action, there's structure, there's a script, right? There's a set. That's why even when you think about musicians and artists, because I'm also in the entertainment business industry, I know this, that, there's a set list. So when you see all your favorite artists that you go to, listen to, there's a set list. There's a set of songs that they do on a tour that they repeat consistently because they've rehearsed the way it's going to be done consistently. There's no magic. It's hard work. It's smart work. So when you look at the same thing and you apply that same concept for your website, for your business, for SEO, we have 52 weeks in a year. Create 52 topics. There are 52 questions I'm sure you have been asked at this time last year. I'm sure if we scale back, you have at least 52 questions. If you've never been asked those questions, you can ask ChatGPT or Perplexity and say, hey, what are the top questions that are being asked? Full transparency, this question that you see here, is SEO dead in 2025, is one of the 52 questions that I asked DeepSeek. And I have 52. This is the 9th episode out of 52. And I'm so intentional about this so that when you ever listen to this, you'll be like, okay, now I understand why. Because we moved our impressions from about, the website moved from about, I think it was close to about, let's say 500, not even 500, about 50. Yeah, it was way low. It was about 50,000 impressions. Now it's borderline around like 1.24 million impressions. And I wondered and in my mind, I was like, okay, what took it? I mean, we all do SEO, we all do great stuff. And sometimes you wonder, okay, what really made this thing tick? And I scaled back and I was like, oh, this is why the numbers jumped. The numbers jumped because I talked about keywords and tools. That's why the numbers jumped. So I realized, okay, if people like tools, if people like things, it makes sense. That's why ClickUp, Canva, the list is endless. Shout out to Uber Suggest. There are so many other platforms that have tools. And when you have a tool, people want to use the tool. That's why you go to Home Depot or Hobby Lobby to buy a tool, because you needed to build something, right? So online, you need a tool that's going to help you build something online or digitally, right? So the whole essence is have a website that has tools. And if you're able to have tools, you can even say Amazon tools. It has to be something that makes sense. And it's not like, okay, Favour said Amazon tools, I'm going to do an Amazon tools webpage and then voila, you're ranking. No, please don't do that. And do your research as well, because you also need to apply something called testing, something called R&D, research and development, because when you create content, it has to come from research base. I'm giving you this example because I've already done it. So I'm already seeing what is happening and I'm like, okay, this is why it happened. And it's because it took a while to get there. And our domain authority for our website is around 48. That's a domain authority according to Ahrefs. And that's a high domain authority because every year you grow about 7 points a year. And it could be more than that depending on how you scale. But if you have 52 pieces of content in a year, that's a big opportunity for you to scale. So podcasting is a great way for you to show up online. If you don't want to show your face, you can show up with your voice. I've done that for 6 years with my podcast. My We Don't Play podcast now is 6 years in, 550 episodes plus. We're actually closer to 560 now. And we have over 200 plus episodes that have not been published, that have been recorded. And we're reaching 155 countries. So every time I hit publish, that it just goes. And then years on by, even the podcast you do with someone, even not even just me. If you do a podcast with somebody, years will go by and someone will find your podcast or find a link. They'll say, oh, I'm looking for this near me or looking for something related to you. And they'll find a podcast episode. Let me surprise you a little bit. Calendly, the Calendly we know, this was in what year was this? 2018. Was it 2018? Was it 2018? Yeah, it was 2018. In 2018, I want to just give you guys something just so you know how important podcasting is. 2018, I didn't have a podcast, but I listened to a podcast that I found when I was searching for information based on a task I was pretty much researching on for a client. And he was like, hey, I'm trying to get the Calendly CEO's contact, the Calendly founder's contact. In my head, I was like, how am I going to do this? And I said, you know what? That's a challenge. I'm going to take the challenge. I'm going to accept the challenge. Guess what? I found the Calendly's. It's so interesting. I found the founder's Calendly email. And guess how I found out? He said it in a podcast. He said, hey, if you want to connect with me, here's my email, at calendly.com. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But someone can just, initially just type that and your email could bounce. So it's not guaranteed either. But when he said it himself in a podcast, that's when it hit me. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. He has a podcast. He said it himself. So if you reach out to him, he shouldn't be surprised because he said it himself in a podcast. But what's the benefit of that happening on a podcast? I did that for a client, found the email, and I said, hey, here's the email and here's the episode I found that actually got me the email. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah. And this is somebody I met in Los Angeles in 2018. I don't like keep going back to 2017, but 2018 is when I met him at a conference in Los Angeles, and the rest is history now. And it's been a beautiful relationship ever since. So I love building relationships because relationships will take you where money doesn't. I'm telling you that for a fact. Astronaut, let's talk about it.
Well, I'll say I totally agree. But running it back about 10 minutes ago, when you were talking about these industries in 155 countries and places, like that alone is powerful. And then you said your affiliation with the entertainment industry about 30 minutes ago. So if we look at these people who are signing contracts, they're really signing contracts to marketing agencies to push their content and to generate sales. It's all SEO. There are people who they had to sit back on a decentralized market now and really figure out, hey, do I want to stop with this industry stuff and be my own independent artist? But then they're pushing things the old way from what they see on the surface level utility of what entertainment really is. It's all SEO. And so when you said entertainment and then you said SEO, I was like, this is the guy. Clearly.
Thank you.
So that was one. And then the other thing as far as finding people, as a founder, there's a way that we have to we learn how to maneuver, because we don't want everybody calling, but we want the people who've done the proper research about us to find us, which it's a good way of placing ourselves and getting rid of the gunk. So if I put my email directly on LinkedIn, how many emails would I get versus putting it into the right avenues where I know that by the time you speak to me, you have already done the research about me. That's a real thing, because then I know that I'm not wasting my time by the time you email me or by the time you actually call me. So like, I'm available, but I'm not available to the people who don't care to really see or know like who I am or what I'm here for or what I do or yeah, like that whole purpose of, you know, a brand or whatever it is that I have, because it's that whole time is money thing too. By the time you get to me, it's like you've already figured out not only who am I and what I do, but placement in regards to what it is you want, you have to offer, the business side, the networking, and the connection. So like the ones who have these big old companies like you were talking about, Calendly, like they purposely hide in plain sight. When Usher was doing a masterclass and he was on like the masterclass app, when you went through the masterclass, like
Oh, you're breaking. Last note, you're breaking. It's still breaking. The last thing we heard was masterclass, and then it just went down. Like, we couldn't keep trying. I don't know if it's just me. If you guys can hear, please let me know. Say something, please. Let's try again.
Okay, I'm saying something now. Can you hear me?
Okay, it's getting better. Almost there.
Okay, well, what about now?
Okay. I heard what you said, so let's try one more time. The last thing we heard was masterclass.
So Usher had a masterclass, and at the end of the masterclass series, he literally says, if you're serious about becoming an entertainer, you know, and if you've gone through my masterclass, submit a video doing this, and this, and say it'll go directly to me, basically, or my team, and I want to see your progress. So he was like openly letting people know, like, you want to be in this industry and you want to be a singer, performer, and dancer, you are a triple threat, you know, send me this footage directly after, you know, listening to my masterclass. It was right there. And like, yeah, like I was like, all these people I'm watching going through these channels and sleeping on couches and trying to do these albums and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, what? You got a direct person that has all this network in the industry. All you had to do was pay $9.99 or whatever for the month, the day, the class, the course, whatever. Watch it and then get the direct contact. It was right there, and I was just laughing. A lot of people do that, but you gotta know, like, SEO wise, what these people are doing, how to find them, navigate to them, and then know to ask. I feel like all of that is a part of marketing and SEO, and knowing how to navigate through systems, through protocols, because you want people to navigate to you the same way that you will have to navigate to them. It's a full arm system, you know.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that highlight. It's a whole system. It's a whole brain. It's a whole map. There's a lot of things that we take for granted, including myself. You know, when we look at things and we're like, okay, this is going to be fine. We're going to get this done. We're going to get this done. We're going to get this done. And in my head, I'm like, okay, do we really know we don't have time to get it done? The only time we have is now. And if we focus on now, then tomorrow, you know, God will handle tomorrow. You know, tomorrow will fix itself and things will happen the way you plan. And I was reading something, and I was reading it through watching it too. And it actually was something that hit me, and I was like, wait a minute, that is something serious. I don't think you've ever heard this before. If you have, I'm glad you have. But when I heard it, I was like, this is something that is very important to catch. Has anyone ever checked the dictionary to know the definition of future? If you have, put a 1 in the chat. If you haven't, put a 2 in the chat. Have you ever searched for what the word future means? I know we talk about the word future, but have you ever checked to see what the actual definition of the word future means? Okay, so you have Lancernaut. If you haven't yet, put a 2. Okay, so did I switch it? If you have, wait, I think I switched it. Lancernaut, let's hear your answer, because there's a reason why I asked this question, and I think I flipped it, but I want to hear your response because I want to tell you what it means. And sometimes when we say things, you know, I've really learned how words are seeds, and there's power of life and death in the tongue. So we have to be very specific with how we say things and how we mean things, and the authenticity of how we bring things to life. So what's your thought on this word future?
So what's crazy is my whole brand is a lifestyle of futurism, from land to space. Architecting a lifestyle of futurism from land to space. So that deep definition and search for future is crazy. It's like it's a point you never get to, because it's always moving forward in time. So it's like, and it costs a lot, because everyone, it's like you're putting a vision out there, I feel like, that hasn't been attained yet. So to be in the future is very expensive, because it's also always forward looking. And by the time that you finish looking forward and it's time to implement, you're like still moving forward. So you would have to go into the past or present to see the fruit of the future. It's kind of nuts. But that's what I got from the word future.
I love that. It's definitely something that we have to look at as a beam of light, because when you're looking ahead, you're looking at something that's going to get you to the end of a position or an end of a place. And if you've never tried this before, please check this out. The definition of future, before I give you the definition of future comes from the original Latin word futurus. So if you look at Latin, let me just say it like that, Latin, and you look at the word futurus, when you break it down, few is to grow or become, and then essay is be or s, however it's said, but it means to be, grow, become, and be. Now it stems from the word few, right? Ultimately from a base meaning to grow or to become. Just wanted to give you the Latin word first before we get into the actual definition. The definition of future means, this thing shocked me when I saw it, and I said, yeah, this is something that we need to really pay attention to, because I think it's good to listen to these things and we ask questions every day, but we also need to know what we're doing every day with what we're saying. Future means, the definition of future is the time or a period of time. This is a key word right now. Following, think about this, the time or a period of time following. So what is the time following? The time is following the moment. That is a time, because everything in time is a moment, right? We capture moments with photography, with photos, with videos, with selfies. We capture moments in time, right? If we're really thinking about the word time. So the time or a period of time following, keyword, the moment of speaking or writing. Time regarded as still to come. That's why even in the Bible it says, Habakkuk 2:2, that write it plain. And if you write it in plain words that actually makes sense that somebody else could read it, that's going to be a great gain for you. Because if you really think about it, you write the vision, you make it plain on tablets. Tablets could be your phone. It could be your ink. It could be your felt pen. It could be your pencil. It could be your keyboard, right? It could be anything. That's Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets so that he may run who reads it. And when you think about it, it's also going to be a time that is going to manifest. So when you think about something, that's how it's, and I mean, Henry Ford also said it. If you can or you can't, you're right, because you said it, because you thought about it. Thoughts become actions. I'm going to think about this and I'm going to do it. That's how we think. That's how we do things. So as a man thinking in his heart, so is he. If you think bad, that's what you give. Bad. If you think good, that's what you give. Good. It's either or. It's point blank period. So when you hear the definition of a word, future, which is the time or a period of time following the moment of speaking or writing, what we're doing right now is we're speaking into the future. We're talking about this. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of 2025. Only God knows. We don't know what's going to happen by this time, 2026, September 5th, September 6th, 2026. We don't know what's going to happen September 15th. We don't know what's going to happen December 25th, 2026. We don't know. We don't know. We just don't. And we don't have to know. We're going to get there when we get there, as God permits. But as we get there, we're not losing time. We're not wasting time. We're not looking at time go by. Because some people just watch time fly. And I'm like, hey, what did you do with the time you did? What you did, it's up to you. When was the last time you tried something new for the first time? That's a question you need to ask yourself too. So I'm doing it myself because I know that in the future, it makes a lot of sense. And it's happened to me because I'm also in the entertainment business industry. I make music. I'm a drummer, self-taught, and I'm into podcasting too. So I do a lot of talking. I'm on stage, I'm talking, I'm on drumming on stage. I'm listening to music. I'm counting beats and bars. I'm focusing on melodies. It's a lot of things happening. I'm going to be doing that in the next few hours too. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, how do I resonate these with the people? Because it's always something that you're going to do that's going to create that intention. So if I'm speaking, if I'm writing, if I'm doing things, it's because I'm focusing on a good future. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. SEO in 2025 is a planning thing. It's a planning project. Because when you have SEO done correctly, what are the tendency of you growing is high, because for every keyword or conversation or question that you answer in form of a link, that answer that you give is going to be the answer that's going to make or break your business. In other words, if you ask me a question and I answer the question, the way I answer that question is going to determine if you're going to ask me another question or if you feel like another question is important or not. I've had a situation when someone saw me and wasn't sure what to ask, but asked and was like, okay, I don't know if he knows what he's talking about, but I said, I'm going to give you my information and I'll say it. Before the end of the conversation, I think he asked me about 5 more questions because I answered one question that led to 5 more questions. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I answer one question, have I answered the question well enough that it actually gets you thinking about more questions? Because you say, oh, why don't I touch this? Oh, don't touch this. Why? I mean, that's what a kid will ask you. Oh, why? Don't do this. Why? There's going to be a question after the question or after the statement. So when you think about the question that you're answering and the answer to the question is in form of a contextual basis that allows someone to emotionally also connect back, it's going to be a huge thing. Because when you say why and you answer why, they'll be like, oh, okay. Like it will make sense. That's why when people ask, what time is it? That's the most question asked on the internet. What time is it? Because you want to know. Oh, it's 8:33 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's the time right now. If you convert that to your time zone, it's going to be a different time for you, right? So it really depends on how you want to think about the time in the future and how you want to plan. So when you ask this question, is SEO dead in 2025? The answer is no. Is email marketing dead in 2025? No. Is AI replacing SEO? No. No, they're not. All they're doing is actually exposing or actually adding structure to SEO. Because SEO used to be like back in the day, everyone can rank for a keyword. Now you have to rank for information that makes sense. Now you have to rank for an experience. Now you have to rank for topics that you can answer over and over again in the form of multimedia. Do you have an audio podcast to represent that question? Do you have a video in form of YouTube to answer that question? Do you have a blog that has a topical sentence that has references, that has citations that you can actually give people? Do you have an email list you can send out information to? These are very important questions. If you don't have these things, then it's going to be hard to grow as well. Victoria says, my daughter is into music as well. I would like to introduce her to you. Yes, please, Victoria. Definitely would love to connect with her too. Yeah, I'm big on music. Even with my podcast, I create jingles for every season and clients that we manage about 17 podcast shows. And they have their own sound. We create their own jingle because I'm also a producer. I make music. I used to make music back in the day and I still do. I've always been a music head as well. So I love music. I'm left-handed. I'm very creative. I'm always on the go. And yeah, I would definitely love to connect for sure. Thank you so much for that highlight. Appreciate you. Yes, I do a lot of things with music, with entertainment, and I've kind of channeled it into podcast and business because I know that if I'm able to talk about these things and just slice the cake, then it's going to be easier for me to know how to help more people. And this is the reason why I do these things consistently, because I know that when I look at the analytics, people are listening. People are asking questions. People are wondering what's happening. And if I don't answer these questions, they're not going to know. Some people reach out to me on LinkedIn from all the way from Spain saying, hey, thank you so much for that question. I needed to do this because I have a client that needed this done. And I hear these things every day. 2 days ago, I was talking to somebody in Austria. And I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm in Austria. I'm like, what? Yeah. And this was like 7 a.m. in the morning for me. So when I'm talking to people and I'm connecting with people, these countries, I've never been to these countries. I would love to visit them, but I always say I've traveled to more countries than I've visited, and I'm still traveling and I'm still moving. I'm still visiting places. I'm still connecting with people. It's not the end and it's far from it. But if you're able to set the intention, it's going to be better for you. So when you have a website, when you have a business, when you have an operating system, when you have SEO backing you up, when you have AI backing you up, when you have a team backing you up, when you have a position that's going to help you back up what you're saying, then it's going to be faster for you to actually retain that information. Right now, people are looking for Pinterest marketing courses. That's what I'm bringing out to people. People are looking for SEO and AI support. People are looking for LinkedIn. People are looking for podcast management. And we're doing these things and it's organic. It's super organic. We don't run ads. My company, we don't run ads. We help you run ads like on zip code marketing, advertising, on Pinterest, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. We do all that. I had a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn last week. I had another conversation with somebody that works at Pinterest last week. So when I read and I see what's going on, especially now we're in Q4, and we're pretty much the last quarter of the year, a lot of people are now trying to build out and see a system that will help them for 2026. People are already thinking 2026, January. So if you have a business and you don't have a website, please start a website. Reach out to me or reach out to anyone you know that can help you start a business website and create it with the intention of adding SEO and AI visibility to your business. Because we get a lot of clients who sign up to work with us or to connect with us, and I ask questions. Hey, do you have a website? No. Okay, how do you do this? Today I'm going to have a conversation with someone who needs a website because he's having a business conversation with someone who requires a website to understand his prototype, because he's trying to sell an idea to make sure that that is a proof of concept for a business that he's trying to scale. And he's actually going to scale it because I met him in Vegas and I love his idea. So I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this. He's in a completely different state from me. I'm in Houston, Texas. So when I go to people and I connect with people, I'm very particular and I'm very attentive. I listen more than I speak. Yeah, I can be talking like this. Yes, I can be talking like this too, but I listen more, because the more I listen, the more I gain. I listen to my clients. I listen to the problems. I listen to the awareness. I listen to what they really, really want to solve. It's not just like, oh, who do you help with SEO? It's not about industry. It's about people. It's about impact. So we don't have a specificity on who we work with or how we work with one client versus the other one. Everyone is unique, but the system is the same. The fundamentals are the same. Do you have a website? Yes. Do you have it connected? Yes. And where is it connected to? We're going to go through the list. If it's not connected on all the lists that gives, if you don't, we're going to connect them all there. So at 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, 365 days, it's easy for you to know what has happened over time. So how not to worry about what's going on with AI and SEO is to just focus on the questions people are asking, answer them consistently in the form of different social media sites. If you can do them all, great, but do the ones that make sense to you and then do them well, because what's worth doing is what's worth doing well. And when you do it well, people will also take you seriously. So if it's LinkedIn, be on LinkedIn, create a company profile, create a profile for your business with your name that also attaches to your business. Let people connect with you that way. Create a podcast, have a podcast that can actually help you get to the top of your industry. Let people know who you talk to, how you talk to them, because these are the things that if you don't do now, someone else is doing it instead. For example, just to let you know, full transparency, I usually look at the podcast and I look at what's happening with keywords. And I realized that just last night, the We Don't Play podcast show has started to rank for SEO services. And I was like, okay, that's a thing. I didn't know people search for that on podcasts, and now it's happening. So when people are searching for these things, you wonder, okay, can someone search for my own business if I own a flower business, if I'm a florist, if I own a restaurant, if I own a real estate business, if I own a gardening business, if I'm a coach? Yes, because podcasting is so niche based that if you show up online consistently, the algorithms will thank you, the algorithms will rank you, and the algorithms will refer you to people that need you. That's the beauty of SEO. That when you set, it's like when you let me say it this way, when you plant a mango seed, you get a mango fruit. That's the same way when you plant a keyword into your website in form of a link, that link will germinate into impressions that people will find on the internet. So when they click on your link, there's a pop-up, they leave their information with you. That's a contact. That person may not be ready today. They may not be ready in 5 months, 6 months. They may not be ready a year from now, but they are there. And when you look at when they joined, and then it's 2025 and they joined 2022, you're like, wow, someone that's been here for 3 years hasn't said a word, but it's still available. It's still here. And then one day from nowhere, boom, hey, I've been watching, I've been connecting with you. I want to now have this plan, I have this idea, because you don't know what people are doing. People are busy they got bigger fish to fry. So you can't force anything to happen. It has to happen naturally. So if someone needs help, they will raise their hand. They'll say, hey, I did SEO services. How can I help you? We have this, we have this, we have this. Okay, let's get working. Let's get to work. Within 3 to 6 months, what is the goal? Within 6 to 12 months, what's the goal? Between 12 to 24 months, what's the goal? What's the goal between 12 to 36 months? So that when you look at your website, if you plan to sell it, plan to merge it, plan to whatever you want to do, scale it, you at least have the roadmap to work with. Because websites these days are looked at like it's just anything, yet websites is what really makes or breaks your business. For example, my website, we've been having black the whole time. We've been having a black background on the website for a long time, and something just told me switch it to white. So I've literally flipped it from dark mode to light mode, and I'm gonna see what's gonna happen, because when you look at blogs are written with light mode. Unless you intentionally want to have it in dark mode, then that's going to be a toggle thing. But when I looked at the whole thing, I'm like, pages are white. Online people want to read with white paper. So why am I making it in black? Yes, it's been working, but I think it's time to flip the switch, because it's also testing. You can always, take it back, but I felt like now is the time to really show that different color, because it also says a lot about business transparency, things that you can build. Yes, you can have white buttons and all the white accents, but I looked at it from a long-term perspective, and I'm like, yeah, I think it's time to change. And those little changes make a big difference, because colors, I don't know if you know this, when it comes to SEO too, colors have hex codes. Colors have hex codes. And these hex codes are showing up on Google. They're showing up on your website. They're showing up on different web pages. So when you have hex codes, these hex codes are very important as well. I was talking with someone at Pinterest last week, and there are certain hex codes that you can use that can actually get you conversions at a higher percentage lift, or a higher conversion lift. Let me say it that way, when you use a certain type of hex code. So that's why I'm very particular about what I'm saying now, because SEO is something that you keep testing, you keep repeating, you keep evaluating. The more you're able to know what's going on with SEO, the better it is for your business, because it's never going to stop. Never. Just like a car. If the car engine is running and it's running for a long time, it's going to keep running until the gas runs out. Now imagine if your gas never runs out, because you keep writing content, you keep posting content, you keep updating content, you keep publishing content, you keep redistributing content. Eventually you're just going to be on auto. It's just going to be that's what's going to be happening. Before you know it, you realize you're showing up everywhere. So it's for you to decide, I have 52 weeks in a year. How much time do I have every 24 hours to dedicate at least 45 minutes, at least 45 hours in 45 days? Can I put 45 hours aside for 45 days? It's possible. Super possible. You have 24 hours times 45 days. That's 1,080 hours. And you only need 45 out of that. Right? And when you think about that, that's about less than 5% of your time. I'm just giving you random numbers, but you do the math on how much time you want to spend, because it's your time and I respect your time. By using that template, figure out how much time you want to spend. and then ask yourself, okay, if I can spend this amount of time doing this, or pay someone to do this, or invest into something like this, then what am I going to get in return? I'm going to get traffic. I'm going to get leads. I'm going to get engagement. I'm going to get conversions. So that when you actually run ads, you're actually saving money. It's the weirdest thing. Let me say this real quick. I just thought about something so you can know about this too. Imagine if you're running ads for conversions, but you're spending, let's give it $5 cost per click. At least, let me just put it that way. And you're doing it at $5. And yes, you're converting at high rates, which is great. But now I'm wondering, imagine if instead of you running a cold campaign or just a marketing campaign by driving considerations, you switch that. And how do you switch it? Let's say you've been running ads for 90 days and you run ads, you get leads, you get contacts, you get people to connect with you. When you do that, the next step is to retarget that campaign. And how do most people do this is by taking the email list that you have accumulated into a CSV file, and then you download that CSV file, right? Then you now upload that CSV file from your CRM, right? A CSV is comma separate value. In other words, if you go to Excel or Numbers, if you use a Mac or Microsoft Excel, there's a section that says export, file export. You have the different file extensions. One of them is a CSV file, comma separated value. When you now download that CSV file in the form of a table format, name, address, phone number, name, address, phone number, you have your list. You download that CSV file, upload that CSV file into the engine that you're going to run the ads on. You can do that on Facebook within, Meta Business Suite or Facebook Ads Manager. And you can go in there and create your campaign, upload your list. I love to do this on Pinterest more than Meta. When you do that on Meta, it's great. You can get your conversions as you do it. Now, the simpler way is you do it on Pinterest, and now instead of running a cold campaign, you're uploading that CSV file into Pinterest, and then you're creating a lookalike audience. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. Lookalike audiences is what Meta calls it, Facebook, Instagram. That's what they call lookalike audiences. On Pinterest, they're called actor-like audiences. So we're looking at consumer behavior, we're looking at psychology, we're looking at demographics, we're looking at intention, because Pinterest has a taste graph of two things. One side of the taste graph is interest, because the word Pinterest, if you take off the word P or the letter P, the word is going to be interest. So you take off one side, the taste bud is interest. The other side is keywords. So interest, keywords. That's Pinterest's algorithm. So if I know that I'm going to my email list and they're interested in shoes, and I know that they like red bottoms or they like brown shoes, and I know that it's coming from this list, I will take that list that I know, that I've been talking to, and I'll put that list into Pinterest, and then I'll say, hey, Pinterest or Pixie, that's the name of the algorithm, take this and create a actor-like audience to support the people that I'm already connecting with that like the same product, shoes. When you do that, you're going to be spending less money because you're creating more of a relationship with people who are finding you for the exact reason that they searched for, why they even saw you in the first place. So when they look at shoes, they find you there, it's because you have something that you're given that is of interest to them. If you search brown shoes, you can now show up there. If you search red bottoms, you'll show up there based on your intent. Now, when you do these kind of campaigns on Pinterest or on Meta, you're going to be spending less money because you already have a lookalike or act-alike audience, and these audiences can help you also grow. Now, to help you with the topic of the day, is SEO dead in 2025? No, that's the answer. How you can also justify that is by running these ads after you've accumulated these contacts from organic marketing efforts. So if you're writing articles and you're doing something called a high content upgrade, what is a high content upgrade? It's like saying that, okay, I'm telling you 5 ways to start a podcast, but sign up here to get my 5 ways to start a podcast in 90 days. And then you leave your contact information and then you get a PDF that's going to give you that instructional manual. That is a high content upgrade. If it's a white paper, if it's a tutorial video, if it's a community, Facebook group, whatever it is that's going to add more value to what's already being given, that's a high content value upgrade. So when you do that, you're creating that on your website to now build consistency within the topic of interest. So when you do that consistently, more people will find you on a weekly basis. Not everyone is online every week. Some people are doing a social media fast. Some people don't show up on social media for some time. Some people even deactivate their account or hibernate it, come back after a few months. Everybody's doing their own thing. So when you're creating content consistently, you're building that intention to allow someone to have a wider retention map. So when you now create content, that content is showing up on Google, it's showing up on ChatGPT, it's showing up on all these platforms. You're able to now really give somebody a reason to know exactly why you're creating content for them. And now in those different forms, they can find you, support you, and also learn with you. So that's how you're able to really think about it in 2025 as a business. So we've been here for a long time, a really long time. I think we started this room around, what time was it? 7:05 Central. So I just wanted to just crack this open so that we can be done with this information and just let everybody know, hey, is SEO dead in 2025? No. Why? Because SEO is what you need to show up on the search engines that you use every day. So the more you're able to consistently grow, the more you're able to consistently know things and then go from those point of views. So if you have any questions that would help you answer this question today, please, we have about 7 more minutes and I don't see any question in the chat. So that means it's probably clear. But if you don't have any question at all, that's okay too. But I wanted to make sure that we can tackle this and, give it some really good insights as well. So John, welcome to the room. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Saturday morning to you. And answer your question for me, SEO is certainly not dead, not even remotely close. And we think of SEO, we think of Google, we think of Yahoo, we think of all those major players, DuckDuckGo, Yandex, all those other ones, and they all operate off the same basic spiders. But a lot of things, if you're a podcaster like me, Apple Podcasts and Spotify are search engines. They're search engines, and they function the same way off of what you post. And by the way, 58% of all news shows, this is an old statistic, 58% of all news shows and podcasts are discovered by topic searches in Apple and Spotify, not by the name of your show. And guess what else is a search engine? YouTube. If you're not a podcaster, YouTube is a search engine. And they use the same thing. They focused on title, the keywords you're searching for, and also your teaser art. I forget what they call that, but the image, the landing page image. All those things play into it, but they're all search engines. AI, yeah, it's important. Social media, yeah, that's important as well. But don't forget, don't fall asleep on SEO, and don't fall asleep on the most basic things. The more complicated stuff, turn it over to people like Favour.
Thank you, John. Yeah, just like a car. If you can't fix it, get someone to fix it. Or if you got to get it checked, let someone check it. Go to a doctor, go to a mechanic, go to someone who knows what they can do to help you get better so that you can perform faster. It just makes sense. Because I think with SEO, the way it's been watered down or dissolved is that, I even mentioned this earlier today, that people say, oh, I'm going to do my SEO. I'm going to ChatGPT my SEO. And in my mind, I'm like, what does that even mean? You're using a platform from a platform. You're going to the, let me say it this way. You're not part of the source, but you want to become the resource. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't add up because SEO is where you think about the source. And then the resource is the platforms that you're using these things on. If you go to Grok, you're going to get a different example or a different response than DeepSeek, than Meta AI, than Cloud, than Perplexity, than Gemini. These are all different platforms doing different things, but they're all going to the same source. That's what makes a difference. And if you're able to be part of the source, then the source will dictate the resource. You don't have to worry about the resources. You have to not worry about the source. So kind of like saying, if you want to be at the top, then you focus on the top. You don't focus on what's in between that, but you have to go in between that to get to the top. But you have to do that by also showing up at the top for the right reason. So when someone sees you at the top, they know, okay, they deserve to be at the top because they actually show up for the people that they show up for online or offline or in person. So you're creating content that are keyword based. And I love that you gave that example, John, on the percentages, because when people find your podcast, they don't find your podcast show, they find your podcast episode. And when they find your podcast episode, that's how they know about your show. And if they like your show, they're going to subscribe to it because they like what you're talking about. And then when they're talking about things that you are interested in, or if you're talking about things that they're interested in, then it becomes a yin-yang effect. It just makes sense. It's a match. So when it becomes a match, it's because people are connected to what you're saying and they actually follow you because they actually enjoy what you're talking about. I can talk about SEO, someone else can talk about SEO, someone else can talk about SEO, but someone will listen to one person over the other, even though the information is the same, but the delivery is different. So when you think about the experience and the people that are connecting with you, you have to really know, who do you like, who do you know, who do you trust, who do you listen to, who do you not listen to? And that's what's going to separate you from the other people too. So I appreciate you so much for that, John. Victoria says, I will need to learn more. I'm in Forever Living Products. I know about that product and I will need to really upskill my business. There's so much to learn. My gosh. Yes, it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to take in, but I also feel like it's also a lot to do, which is also going to make your business also thrive faster, longer, even with more specificity. You're able to really, connect the dots and say, okay, I'm going to do this for this reason, for that reason. Then it's going to be a way of setting the intention. And the best way to do it, honestly, is to create content that actually will help your business grow. And how do you do that? You build your business by creating the intention of adding more value to the algorithm by creating content for the algorithm. So when you're creating content for the algorithm, my first question to you, Victoria, would be, do you have a website? If you don't have a website, then that means you're not able to show up online for the questions that people are answering or things that people are asking. You have to be a resource as well. So the first question I'll ask you is if you have a website. So when you upscale your business with a website, the website is going to be I'll call it this, let me say it this way. The website is going to be the anchor that's going to help your business sustain online because you have something that's sustainable as a link. So if someone looking for your products, they'll find you locally, regionally, nationally, or internationally. Those are usually the 4 options when it comes to your business type. So if you're local, that's good. If you're regional, that's good. If you're national, that's good. If you're international, that's good. One of those 4 is going to be your goal. So when you're able to now decide, okay, am I doing local SEO? Am I doing regional SEO? Am I doing national SEO? Am I doing international SEO? Then that's now how you're able to now connect to more people. I talked about this in the last episode too, that when you put a location on your website, that location by default is going to be the algorithm that's going to set the location based on where your website is operating from. If you don't put a location into your website in form of a map, in form of a link, in form of a hyperlink, or some type of text on page-wise, then that now defaults you to pretty much neutral because you're not really locating or operating from one location. So that's also something to note, because if you're a local business, that's a great advantage for you because that's local SEO. If you're operating from this corporate office or from this business and you're online and you have an address, then yes, that's going to help you and your connections connect, because someone's going to say, hey, what's the nearest restaurant to me? What's the nearest church to me? What's the nearest airport to me? Or if I have 2, which one can I go to? What's the nearest store? There can be a lot of CVS stores, but I'll go to the one that's closest to me. I'm going to go to one that's 1 mile away from me than going to one that's 13 miles away from me. So it just makes sense when you now create content that's also going to help you understand where you're operating from. And then when you think about operation, I'll say this lastly, for SEO purposes, because people say it's SEO dead. When you look at SEO, think of radius. I'll say this again. When you think about SEO, think about radius, right? When you think about the radius, you're thinking about the stretch, right? So if I know that I'm operating a business that is international based, then my radius is going to be huge. Why is it huge? Because people are going to search for information that I'm giving consistently in the form of a topic that they search for frequently. So I'm going to create content that they can use to translate, because there's also Google Translate. So if somebody has Google Translate and let's say let's say their default is Spanish or Italian or German, if they use Google Translate, that can also translate their page or your page or web page to a language that they can read. That can happen. So if you're creating opportunities for people to even try that, you're giving them the red carpet to know, okay, I like what I'm seeing here. Can I translate the page? Sometimes even by default, if you use Google Chrome, it might default, and because they know your language, it will move. Like your phone is either in English or it's in another language that you prefer. So when you really think about SEO, it's language, it's communication, it's destination, it's language, it's communication, its destination. And that's the 3-piece meal that if you keep to consistently, your SEO will be thriving. And the reason why SEO is dead for some people is because they're not optimizing currently. That's why there's something called content decay. So for some people, SEO might be dead for you. I mean, the answer is no for the general public, but if you're not actively working on your website, then that SEO is dead for you is yes, because you're not really doing anything that the algorithm is even looking at. So you're not even existing to be able to even be found for a resource in form of a link that's accessible, that's active, and also recent. So if you just break it down and put it into a table and say, is it active? Is it recent? Is it obtainable? Is it accessible? Is it indexable? When you say yes, 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 then just let the algorithm do its thing. Just like you let go and let God. Do your part, he's going to do his part. Do your part, let the algorithm do its part. But if you don't do your part, don't expect magic to happen. That's what I'm going to say. So, John, what would be your last thought? And also Landstronaut as well.
The last thought I would say is it's twofold. Two things. No matter what you do, this strategy is going to work for you with search, and it will also work with your social media. Post often. And secondly, write everything for search engines, not for you. Search engines first, and then for the customer, the intended customer second, and then what you say last. So write everything for search engines first, because that's the number one gatekeeper we all have to deal with, whether it be SEO, the artificial intelligence, social media. We got to combat their algorithms. So we learn their algorithms, and you'll be far more successful. And so, in short, I'm saying is write for the search engines first.
I love that. I would say that too. Yes, write for the search engines first. Yes, I'm actually processing what you're saying, because when you write for the search engines first, then it means that you're writing for humans first. That's what it means. That's literally what it means, because when you write for this, you write, yeah.
Think
Because
of this way, not to interrupt you, Favor, but when it comes to search, the gatekeeper, the one who decides whether your content is seen by other people, are the search engines. Their algorithms. Same with social media. If you're focused so much on what you want to say and you're ignoring what they're looking for, they're never going to show your content to people, or they'll do it sporadically, and you're not going to grow. That's why I say write for search engines first.
exactly, it's a big deal. When you write for the people that you care about, they'll find you in the process of their need. it should just be that simple, but we shouldn't complicate the system as well. So thank you so much for that, John. Landstronaut, what are your final thoughts? And also thank you for being here. It's so good that you were able to join us today. Landstronaut, are you there? She might be busy. But it was always a great pleasure having you here and being with us today in this room talking about this topic today. Howard says, feed AI your content too. Yeah, it's true. That is true. Thank you for that feedback, Howard. When you feed, let me say it this way. Let me not say when you feed. Let me say it this way. Feedback is the best currency for your business. Feedback is the best currency for your business. Why for your business? Because your business needs feedback. Your business needs information to thrive on. Your business needs feedback to test, and your feedback needs information that is qualitative. It's called a qualitative analysis, because you're getting feedback reports that tell you things. That's why mobile networks, telecommunication companies, they always say, hey, leave us your feedback on how this went, because they want to know how you felt. So the same thing Howard is saying is so true, because when you're feeding your AI content, the feedback you get is so big, because when 8 LLMs are referring to you, plus Google, plus YouTube, plus Apple, plus Spotify, plus Pandora, plus this, plus that, it just gets to the point where you're just like, okay, this is something that you have to be creating content for, that's also going to give you value over time. So when you really think about your business and you think about the value that you're exchanging, there's going to be a lot of things that's going to make your business thrive when you feed content on websites that actually have information that you can provide long term. So think about that as a business. Think about that as an owner. Think about that as someone who is actually intentional about the people that you want to care for and do work with. So create content that will allow them to find you resourceful, find you accessible, and find you flexible, because people don't want to work with people that are not likable, trustworthy, or even in a position of knowledge that they can feel connected or feel like they could respect what you're doing. So just be the good person and be the right person, and be the right person for your business. So that when you now feed all these AI engines, the way you feed them, like Howard said, the way you feed these AI engines is by writing content. Create web links from web pages that are on websites that you own, that you can produce and you can distribute in the form of multimedia, blogs, podcast links, video links, email links, social links, referral links. These are going to be links that I will call it royalty income, because you're going to have your intellectual property that's always going to be accumulating and also increasing in value over time, because you're referring to content that's also giving people feedback. And how do you give feedback? By answering questions. So when you answer questions on your web pages, these web pages will now give you results that will now show up on the search engine. If you go to Google right now and you ask for something, you're going to get more questions than you asked. One question will lead to 4 more questions. So if you have a website that answers questions the way Google answers questions, then you don't have a problem. Now you just need a strategy. And now with the strategy, you're able to now solve the problems that people find solutions from your website. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was intentional, and I hope you're able to learn something new, because this thing keeps happening. It's a lot of information. It's an overload. I know it can sound like an overload, but I'm intentional about giving you this information, because if I don't give it to you, I'll be doing a disservice to you, and I don't want that on me. I want to make sure that I've said what I've said, I've given you what I've delivered, and that way you can now use this information to learn about it, in the recent past, how you were able to do work and you can do it now, you can definitely do something later in the future. As I said, the definition of the word future, I'll say this again for those who are not here. The definition of the word future, according to the dictionary by Oxford, is the time or a period of time following the moment of speaking or writing. Time is regarded as still to come. So if you speak or write, if you write a blog, if you speak on a podcast, you're writing into the future, you're speaking into the future, you're actually doing something for yourself. I don't know what else to tell you if this didn't make sense, but I'm glad that you're here and I'm glad that you're listening, and I appreciate each and every one of you as well for being here. Victoria says, I'm so glad God brought me into this meeting by chance. It wasn't even intentional. I was just doing something on my phone and suddenly I found myself here. I knew this was divine. Yes, I couldn't leave because I was receiving so much value. God bless you so much. God bless you too, Victoria. I appreciate you for being here. Something told me to start the room this morning because I don't do rooms on Saturday mornings. I actually need to leave because I have a full day today. But this morning I said, I got some time, and whoever is going to listen to this today, tomorrow, next year, I hope it resonates, because I don't know what you need. I don't know what you're looking for, but I know what people are looking for and I know what I can provide. So when it matches the need, then at least there's some supply that you can use to at least direct you to the reason and the result that you need overall. So thank you, John, for being here. Last, I appreciate you for coming. Tolu, Howard, Victoria, RB, Viola, thank you for being here. 49, Python, Yusuf, Reggie, Diane, Santrina, and Brooklyn. I hope I said it correctly. Please forgive me if I said it wrong. But anyone that has a ticket, this is the Marketing Club. At the very top, you'll see Marketing Club. We're over 352,000 members. There's over 200 replays. There's a lot of information in here. So just join the club, listen to the replays, or, show up here and also RSVP whenever you see the calendar on Clubhouse, and listen to the podcast. We don't play podcast.com, where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So with that said, I hope you have a great day, great weekend, great time, and definitely something that you can learn for the future. And Viola says, hi, I agree with Victoria. Thank you. You are welcome. You're most welcome. This room is for you. I think I did this for you. So when I feel in my spirit I need to do something, I take action. When I think about somebody in my mind, I call them, because this life is short. Like I've seen things that just make me want to take time and just, boop, boop, we got to move. Yes, Lance Renault, you're back. What's good? What's your last takeaway before we go?
So how do people reach you? What's the best way of getting prepared for a call like yours when they say, okay, I'm ready?
Great question. If somebody wants to get on a call with me, if you want to get on a call with me and connect with me, before you do, please have a website, or if you don't have a website, have a domain. At least buy a domain. If you don't have a website, buy a domain. If you have a domain, have a website, because I know someone that has hundreds. I know some people that have hundreds of domains but no website. But the website is a landing page, and I'm just like, this is not a website, this is a page. And there's a difference between a page and a site. It's kind of like saying a window in a house. There's a complete difference between the two. So if you want to get on a call, please have a website, have a plan, and have a strategy. If you don't know what those plans and strategies are, bring your business plan so that we can build a strategy from there. Because what we do for you is we're going to audit your website. Once we audit your website, we know exactly what your website is lacking. Then from there, I'll show you, hey, your website is on WordPress. Your WordPress is on your website is on Wix or Squarespace. I can be able to see that information before even we get on a call. I'll send you a Loom video. I always do this. I send you a Loom video. And once you get the Loom video, I'm able to show you, this is what your website looks like. Have you seen this before? Yes, no. We'll talk about it on the call. I will also send you the proposal. We have tiered plans, and we work quarterly, biannually, and annually. If you do annually or biannually, you save. If you do quarterly, you could do monthly too, but it's not recommended because 1 month is too short to find out what's going on with your business. So we recommend at least 3 months as well. And then when you start thinking about your business, start thinking about the goals and the strategies that you want to create as a business, and ask yourself, okay, am I ready for this? And we also give you full transparency too. If you're coming to get started, we start at $1,500 a quarter. So within that time, we're able to now make sure that we understand what you're looking for. It can go up to $2,500 a quarter. It could go to $3,500 a quarter, depending on what you're looking for. So it's very affordable. It's very reasonable. When you really think about 3 months of the time you're spending and what you could get back in 3 years from 3 months, it's really up to you. But we've seen this time and time again where we help businesses grow, and also see that if you're able to build your own intellectual property, the way we have, then you'll be able to see that growth for yourself. Because I've seen time and time again, a podcast is started. Somebody has a podcast. She didn't know what she was doing with the podcast, but she had an idea and she was just doing it because she has a passion for it. And I said, okay, let's turn this passion into income. Let's turn it into impact. And now she's doing so well. She's showing up on Wall Street Journal. She's showing up on different platforms. She's doing well. People are recognizing her and seeing her because of her podcast. There are so many other stories I can tell you. But when you start from scratch, or if you start from a point, I would love to know how these things can be done for you. And how that is possible is you can click the link above. And when you click the link above, you can choose the option, put your first name and your best email, because I communicate through email a lot. And I send out very important information through email. So that's why I keep it very exclusive. And then when you get the email, especially when you sign up here, you'll now get redirected to a calendar where you can book a call with me. There are 11 questions that are very specific that will help me know where you are in your journey and where you want to be in the next 3 months or the next 6 months. Then we get started. We get on a call and we talk about it. Usually we have this open. I always let people know about this too, just in case you're listening to this for SEO services purposes. We have a 10-day open window. There are 30 days in a month. So whenever we get a request for proposal, we have a 10-day window from the day we schedule the call till 10 days, because we also consider the weekends, but that's not inclusive of the 10 days. So within 10 days, 10 business days, you're able to let us know, hey, we want to get started or we want to wait. But either or, whatever's going to happen is going to be dependent on what your goal was. Because I'll ask you, if this is what your real intention was, and now you've seen this and you're trying to calculate that, was it a problem in the first place, or priority in the first place, or are you just guessing things? So we want to make sure that you're very intentional. We take 10 out of 30 days to make sure that you're serious. We get everything set up because we deal with project management, and allow us to get to the point where you can actually see this growth curve for yourself. So I'm really looking forward to it as well. And that's how we do it. And we're a team of 10, including me. We meet every Mondays for an hour, and we use a platform called ClickUp. If you've never heard of a project management tool called ClickUp, it's a really good platform. And we do tasks, projects, timelines, milestones. We're very meticulous with how we work. I don't know how other businesses work, but the way we've modeled it, I've done it in a way that's like a football team, like a soccer team, because I play soccer. So we've positioned it in a way that everyone has their own position and everyone has something big to do as a role. So we're a collective team. I've been running my business for 12 years. And it's been exciting. The podcast has been running for 6 years. So what I'm showing you in 3 months, it's a lot, but it's something that you'll be seeing done for you, that when we get on weekly calls, because we have weekly schedules for an hour, recorded calls on a weekly basis. So we talk every week for an hour on Zoom or Roam. We usually use both of them, depending on the one you like. And then on the schedule, you have a Google Calendar. You have it on your schedule every week. We have an hour recording and we talk. If you want to renew it after 3 months, after 6 months, after 12 months, yes, you can. You own all your property. You own your website. You own your intellectual property. We don't own anything. We just manage it for you, but we show you how to manage it because we do it for you first. So it's easy. I make it very easy, flexible. It's not expensive. People have said our prices are very fair. And I'm like, yeah, because the workload we do, the subscriptions we have, the softwares we have, the installations, the connections, it's worth it, because I know at the end of the day, you get what we give. We can only give you what we have. So we're able to make sure that is done well for you. So that's how we work. And that's how we do it. So Viola says, I'm revamping my marketing plan now. Can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for letting me know. It's definitely exciting to see how it's grown last year, this year, and also next year as well. And Victoria says, I just signed up now. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Yeah. So to your question, Lance or not, did I answer the question?
You sure did. You sure did.
Thank you. Yeah, if someone asks me a question, I want to make sure I can be very clear so that when you hear this, you're not surprised, because SEO is something people say, yeah, it's expensive. Yeah, it's an investment, but if you invest in the right place, you can really do a lot. I don't know if you've heard about the rule of 72, the rule of 72, how long it takes for your investment to double when it comes to interest rates and percentages. And that thing has taught me a lot. I've kind of like taken that rule of 72 into actual SEO, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, this thing can actually work if you really decide to know how your business can thrive. It can be a long-term gain for you, just depending on how you're able to do it. So yeah, thank you for that question. Thank you for the feedback, everyone. Appreciate you, Eric. It was good seeing you here too. Yes, last one up. What's up?
Oh, just as a disclaimer to everyone in the room and everybody on the outside, he did not pay me for any of this. This is a real testimony. I got service from him, and it was great, which is why I decided to come on stage and support. So, FYI, if you're looking for somebody that has integrity and that's good to work with, I would actually recommend him. Thanks.
Thank you, Lance Bernard. Appreciate you. That project we did was amazing. It was super exciting, and I'm glad that it was a success because it was an international project. So I'm so glad to see all the successes, because when you win, we win. It's not a me thing, it's an us thing, because we're doing it for people. SEO is for people, it's not for robots, it's for people. So it's just a great way to serve people in a new way. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. Viola says, I signed up for consultation on September 30th. I just signed up for a website that does SEO for me with Google search. That's great. I wish I would have found you earlier. No problem. We would love to know what they're doing with SEO, because SEO could be different. I've seen SEO in all kinds of facets. People say they do SEO, and I'm just like, is this SEO? I was talking with a client the other day. Yeah, it was on, today is Saturday. That was on Wednesday. It was on Wednesday, and she was showing me her website, and she was telling me that somebody is doing her SEO for her. And I asked them, what are they actually doing? So she now told me. I said, okay, this is what I see, and this is what the algorithm sees. So what did they actually do? And she was like, I don't know. They just said they do SEO, but she thought SEO was building a website, doing on-page, keywords and everything. But it's so technical now that I like to ask those questions. So I'll definitely love to connect when we do get on the call and see what they're actually doing, because when I look at the website, it will tell me. Like, the good thing about SEO is that it tells you the truth and nothing but the truth. If your website is having traffic, it will show me. If it doesn't have traffic, it will show me. It's like black and white. That's the beauty about SEO. And that's why when we scale websites, when we scale graphs, when we scale businesses, whether small, medium, or large, we see that if you move up, like with large businesses, moving from 1% to 2% is a big increase compared to a business that is small that may move up 20% because of a click rate or an impression count. So there are so many things that should definitely work. But yeah, it will be something we can talk about and see. But there's always room for team operations. I love working with teams. I love training teams. I love to be trained. I love to listen. Because we're all learning. This life is a learning curve. Nobody knows everything. So I'm just excited that I work with people who are smarter than me. So appreciate you all for being here. Najami, thank you for being here. I see you. Dan, Kirill, thank you for being here as well. And I hope you have a wonderful time this holiday season that we're in, because it's going to get really holiday season friendly very soon. So I think the first holiday just happened was just kind of like a test, or you put your toes in the ocean just to see if the water is warm, because it's going to get really warm and really hot very soon. So if you're doing this as a business, if you have holiday campaigns, now is the time. Now is the time to do these things. And I opened these rooms very randomly. That's why I was surprised that Lance Bernard came, because I was like, I don't know who's going to show up this morning. But I'm so glad that, these things are organic, they're real, and it's not everything that you see online, is what it is. It's really till you know what's happening on the back end. That's when you're like, oh, that's how you made the movie. That's how this person jumped from this building to that building. Okay, CGI. Okay, this. Okay, 4D. You start realizing things. You're like, oh, there's more that meets the eye. So that's why I always like to be very transparent and, instructional with this thing. So thank you all for being here. It's been a blessing to be with y'all today. I hope you guys have a wonderful time. I'll be back again for my next topic. Just before we go, I like doing this before we leave. The next topic is going to be, why do some pages rank while others don't? That's going to be the next topic. And I'll probably bring this tomorrow or Monday. So catch this replay, and also catch the next episode in the marketing club, but also RSVP and be here, because I usually do rooms in the morning or in the afternoon, like around 1 p.m. Central, or in the evening, which is like past 8 p.m. So whenever you catch me here, please connect. But the fastest way to know is by signing up above, and that way you don't miss out on any exclusive information. So thank you all. Have a blessed day. Enjoy your weekend, and I'm going to see you guys in the next room. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11, and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back, so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you.